sometimes we have to choose between the guest's happiness or the finances of the business. Super glad to be chatting with you. Today, I actually want to spend a lot of time talking about one of my favorite topics, team building and leadership. So let's start from the very beginning of this whole process. When you're building a team, you gotta look for new people. And when I go and look for new people and I do my interviews, the things I look for are positive people. I look for people who have a good energy, someone that our team can get along with, because what I'm really concerned about is our company culture. You know, I don't want negative, toxic people hanging around all the time. I want to have positive, literally team type of people. People who are like have a passion about helping others, which is what I'm passionate about. So I want to duplicate myself in this business because I want it to run a certain way. When you're looking for someone in your business, you want to duplicate yourself because you want it to be people that you can trust who are going to do the things that you do. So people that you actually can relate to on a creative level, or people that have the inspiration to do what you care about most, what your priorities are. My priorities are being a team and helping people. So especially in a growing business, what we don't need are people who are just like, oh, well, that's not my job. We're all kind of doing everything together. So we want people who are like, oh, do you need help with this? That's not your job title, but you have free time? Awesome, because I have like a long backed up list of stuff. Let's do this together. Those are the people that I really focus on looking for, and that's for pretty much every single department that we hire. Things that I would like to start doing as our business has been getting bigger to create an even more excellent company culture is to make sure that everybody feels involved and paid attention to and connected to one another. I don't like when we've got all this separation between departments or cities, right? I want all of our cities, Philly, Houston, DFW, to be working closely together and that we all know what's going on with each other because we all know the same vision. So having more like interdepartmental communication and having more like inter-city communication, really building the relationships that we have with each other. I mean, we can go back to like your most classic thing of having a team building event. I think it'd be so cool to take time where we could just like all spend time in one room or one like area together and hang out and kind of get to know your department neighbor, right? Oh, you do maintenance? Oh, cool. What's it like doing maintenance? I'm a housekeeper. I always love it when you come in and fix this stuff or whatever. You know, just little things like that. It kind of helps. I remember when I was working in lower level like positions, starting positions in big corporations, and the thing that actually helped me do my job even better was when I knew how other departments were working, because I understood the why behind something, and I was like, oh, and so I actually would make better decisions in my position because I could see what, it was a book sales thing I did one time. So I knew what the distribution center was handling. And so it helped me understand our little computer system doing customer service when I was placing orders. That kind of thing, you know, not having segregation, but unifiedness, if that's even a word, is really going to help everybody. I would love for my housekeepers to know what my customer service team goes through. I would love it. And I would love for my customer service team to meet a couple of housekeepers and talk about what that's like so that, you know, when guests have a certain experience, they can work with each other on making it better. Some of the positions that we have hired from my day one a couple of years ago to now that have really kind of like allowed this business to get as big as it is and continue to get bigger. The very first one was a customer service rep, right? That's kind of where we started off because I was on this phone all day and I couldn't talk to my housekeepers even because I'm like making sure the guest is responded to. So starting off with that, and she's still with us actually, she's a rock star. I've actually made her a leader now over several other customer service reps. We call them reservation coordinators. It's kind of fancy and fun, but for the most generic term with other businesses, customer service rep is the essential like generic version. But anyways, yes, we have a whole team of customer service reps now, and there's about, I think, 6 of them at this point, and they alternate in shifts, and they are very much a team. We've got like a group message going that they're just on top of it with each other, and the cool part is I think they're one of my most unified departments because they do work so closely and consistently throughout the day. But they all live in different states. Like one of them lives in California, one of them lives in Virginia, one's in Oklahoma, and like two, I think, are in Texas. So it's actually really kind of cool to watch that closeness that they have. They're paying attention to each other, and like one of them ends a shift, so then they fill in the next person with the next shift, and as far as like what's going on and who still needs assistance. I just love it. I love that relationship, and that's really been like that personality I was referring to, about a helpful group of people that want to just be there for each other and be a team. They're absolutely exemplifying that. I also have hired many housekeepers. Some have stayed, some have gone. But the most recent addition is our housekeeping manager. And she has a great experience with leading a team of housekeepers. She's been doing really well with her, again, positive attitude. That's really what I'm so focused on, that optimistic and like you can do it types of energy. Housekeeping is such like a stressful position, I feel like, especially in the short-term rental and vacation world, because people are coming in out and the expectations are so high and like it's so fast-paced. You got this much time to get everything the way it needs to be, you know? So having that like person there to be like a huge emotional support for my housekeeping team has made a big difference. She actually gets to go and work side by side with them. I used to be able to, like a long time ago, I had the time where I could drive around and like meet with my housekeepers one by one. But now I'm doing so much, I actually don't get to see them as much as I'd like to. So now they have that like side by side, arm in arm support, you know, where she can show up and say, how are you doing today? What's going on? Is it really messy? And she can kind of like help them if it's like a super big disaster. So that has been an awesome addition. We have hired security as well. We have hired full-time stagers, looking for that quality control person full-time, which I think is going to be an awesome addition to really like maintain excellence. We want to be an excellent brand. You walk in and there's not like dingy old furniture, which we have dealt with. You know, when there's that many units, to keep them perfect is just a lot of work. So having someone who can really just make that like their number one priority in their day-to-day will be awesome for our business. And I just got an assistant myself, so that's been super helpful. Being able to like just call or send a text and be like, hey, remind me of this, and then can you like send this email, please? Got it. Oh yes, it's like bricks falling off of my shoulders. Hallelujah. So that's been a fantastic addition for sure. I'm saving my best for last. My favorite newest position that we've added is a guest experience manager. Woo, fancy title. I ended up promoting one of my top customer service reps just recently. I'm so excited for what she's doing. Her entire job is just to make sure the guest is happy. It sounds really simple, but technically, because we are a business and money is involved, sometimes we have to choose between the guest's happiness or the finances of the business. Is it worth that much money? You know, we have to make those hard decisions. Are we going to drop like or refund this much or lose the reservation or whatever the decisions are financially versus making the guest happy? They don't always line up. They don't equal the same thing. And so we've had to make hard decisions where we've actually disappointed some of our guests and it resulted in not a great review. But financially, it didn't make sense to do X, Y, or Z. So having someone like her to be able to really kind of advocate or come up with creative ideas to make the guest happy. She can almost be like an attorney or something, right? Like my client wants, you know, X, Y, and Z, right? And so like, but it's for the guest and also to benefit our business and our reputation. We want our guests to be happy. When I'm running around, you know, doing 50 billion things, I can't really make a slow focused decision on, okay, do we do this 15% refund or a 50% refund or whatever to make this guest happy? I need someone who can really spend that energy and pay attention and emotionally support our guest when they ended up having something that didn't work out the way they wanted it to. So I'm really, really excited about this position. She basically gets to argue with management. Like, what a job, right? You get to argue with your boss. You have permission to just battle back and forth and come up with a really beneficial conclusion for our guests. And I think it's going to be an awesome turnout. So, some mistakes that I've made and lessons I've learned with hiring people to join my team. One thing I have definitely learned already is to not hire out of desperation. Like, okay, you're hired. I just need help. Like, you can't do that. I mean, sometimes I get so desperate. And I'm like, there's so much to do. We need all the help we can get. I'm not really like paying attention. I just needed someone who was willing to work at that point. And sometimes I've gotten lucky, but a lot of times it just did not work out because I didn't really go through and like pay attention to this person and their availability and all these extra things. So definitely don't rush the process. It can be tempting sometimes, especially when you're just like overwhelmed. I recommend kind of like maybe even taking a moment to like do some deep breathing before you go in and do your interviews if you're just really stressed, because you don't want to like make the wrong decision. You end up spending time training somebody and then they bail. I've actually had housekeepers where, because we provide our housekeepers the cleaning supplies, right? And I've interviewed them and they seemed cool and I kind of, was moving pretty quick. I was like, cool, so you're hired and tomorrow you can come pick up your supplies before you go clean. Or before they go help another cleaner. I would have them shadow and train a little bit that way. They're like, okay, great. And they show up, they take the supplies, and then they don't go to the apartment. And they're gone, they don't answer their phone, they don't respond. They just took $200 worth of cleaning supplies and never came back. That's happened more than once. And I think actually 2 times before I was like, I need to change something, it happened like in the same week. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. So we ended up doing it where we started like giving them an orientation after we hired. We went through like a day with like the manager now that we have, and she'll like spend a day teaching them and walking them through everything in slow motion. And then after that, they shadow 2 cleaners. So they work with 2 other existing cleaners and use their supplies. So then they've got like 3 days of hours on the clock. They want a paycheck. So I'm assuming that they're gonna keep showing up to work before I give them the supplies. So they get the supplies after that. That was a lesson I learned. But another thing too that I'm still actually trying to work on, and it kind of comes with the delegation part and the fact that I'm very like a positive, affirming person. Trying to find someone who, this one's a tough one to explain. Trying to find someone who won't get too big for their britches. Does that make sense? Because that's happened a couple times too. So I love to delegate, I love to teach, I love to coach, and then I'll like positively encourage. You're doing this, awesome. You're doing that, awesome. And I've had it happen a couple of times where people end up getting a really big head about it and then come back at me and start arguing or debating with me about certain things and the way that we run the business. I'm super open to ideas, but don't end up in a situation where someone tries to end up becoming your boss. Like, you own the business, you run it, you do get to make the final decisions. I'm always about encouragement and positive reinforcement. I do this thing called a positivity sandwich where I say something good, I give you the negative critique or the negative feedback, and then I say something good again, right? Because I want to focus on the good energy. But I've had to learn to really read people a little bit better and not end up creating a monster. So maybe gauge, right? And filter when we say positive things, but keep them in their place too. Lastly, my secret to building a good team. I've actually mentioned this before, but I can't say it enough. Servant leadership. I really mean it. I really mean it. Having a good team is a team that feels supported and a team that feels taken care of, a team that their needs are met. If they're struggling with getting something done with their job and it's not going well, reprimanding off the bat is not the best course of action. It's, hey, what can I do to help you do your job better? Having a good team is a team that cares about each other. You create that environment, right? I created an environment of people who want to help each other because I want to help them. So remember that they are people, that they have needs, that they're not just a number, and keep them connected with each other and you. And I can't imagine it doing anything other than flourishing. So good luck out there, you guys. I hope this was helpful. It was great chatting with you guys again, and have a good day.